There was a time when I never believed in ghosts or spirits, but that was before I took this job. For months, I had been desperately searching for work. Any work. I went from place to place, applying everywhere, hoping anyone would hire me. Finally, after countless rejections and endless frustration, I landed a job. A night shift position at a hotel.it wasn't what I wanted, but it was what I needed. With financial problems looming over my family like a dark cloud, I had no choice. I accepted it without a second thought. The isolation of the hotel night shift sounds easy. In theory, it is. You sit in front of a computer for 8 hours, welcome any late-night guests, prepare a short report, and set up breakfast in the morning. Simple. But no one tells you about the silence. The way it creeps in. The way it seeps into your skin, into your bones. The way it isolates you, despite being surrounded by walls and rooms filled with sleeping strangers. The hotel lobby was brightly lit, but beyond those walls, darkness stretched for miles. There wasn't a gas station, a restaurant, nothing. Just an empty highway and the deep, endless night. And the worst part? I was alone. Completely, utterly alone. Not a single coworker to keep me company. No one to talk to. Just me, the hum of the computer, and the occasional late-night traveler passing through .it first. I convinced myself it was fine. But as the nights passed, an unsettling feeling began creeping in. Like something was watching me .it first. I ignored it. But then things started happening. The first night of terror was my third night at work, around 4 a.m. I was struggling to stay awake. My head kept dipping forward, my eyelids growing heavier with each second. And then, the bell rang and I jolted awake. My heart hammering against my ribs, I grabbed the keys and rushed to the entrance. But when I looked through the transparent glass door, no one was there that I frowned, rubbing the sleep from my eyes. Maybe a guest had been standing there and left when I didn't respond fast enough that I cursed myself for dozing off and made a strong cup of coffee, determined to stay alert. But just as I took my first sip, the bell rang again. This time I was ready. I practically leaped to the door, unlocking it within seconds. But again, no one. I stepped outside, my skin prickling against the cold air. I looked left, right, nothing. No footprints, no movement, just the whisper of the wind. That night, I didn't sleep. The swimming pool incident after a few days, I got used to the routine. My manager even complimented my work. But in typical fashion, that meant more responsibilities. He asked me to clean the swimming pool area before setting up breakfast. I agreed. It wasn't difficult, but what he failed to mention was how unnervingly dark the pool area was. Only 4 weak, flickering bulbs lit the corners. The rest of the area was swallowed in shadows. It wasn't just dark. It felt wrong. The pool water was still, too still. The air around it heavy, suffocating. The boundary wall beyond it barely visible in the gloom. That I tried to shake off my unease and got to work. Just a few dry leaves, nothing major. And then I saw it. A shadow, blacker than the night itself. And it was shaking. It was behind me. My heart slammed against my ribs as I spun around so fast I nearly fell. But nothing. I turned back toward the pool, my breathing ragged. The water remained still, mocking me with its silence. I didn't waste another second. I rushed inside and locked the door, my pulse pounding in my ears. That night, I even forgot to turn off the outside lights. When I told my morning shift colleagues, they laughed. They didn't call me crazy, but they didn't believe me either. I wished I was crazy. That would have been easier to accept. But deep down, I knew something was there. The most terrifying night, the storm warnings had been all over the news that evening. They said it would be bad, that there would be power outages. I should have called in sick. I should have stayed home. But I didn't. I was sitting in the breakfast area watching the news when the power went out. Sudden, absolute silence. The kind that makes your skin crawl. No fridge humming. No distant murmurs of the TV. Just the howl of the wind outside. Then, the phone rang. A teenage guest complained about the geyser not working. I apologized repeatedly, knowing there was nothing I could do. Eventually, he hung up, and then I was truly alone. I had only one torch. A heavy steel one my father always insisted I carry for emergencies. The beam flickered, weak and uncertain. Then, I heard it, a sound no one ever wants to hear in an empty, dark hotel. A woman. Crying. It wasn't coming from outside. It was inside. Somewhere within these walls. A choked, broken sob echoing through the empty hallways. My hand tightened around the torch as I swung the beam in every direction. Nothing. The crying grew louder, closer. I swallowed, my throat dry as sandpaper. Then, the light fell on the main door, and I saw her. My stomach twisted into a cold, sick knot. She was standing there, 2 feet away, her face contorted in agony, twisted and broken, as if something had crushed it beyond recognition. Her eyes, missing, just 2 deep, empty holes, her body thin, withered, and the smell, rot, decay, death. The moment the torchlight hit her body shuddered as if she was about to lunge at me. I don't remember what happened next. I must have passed out. Or maybe I screamed. Maybe I ran. All I know is, when I opened my eyes, the power was back, and she was gone. I sat there, shaking, unable to move. By morning, I left without telling anyone. When my boss called, I lied. Told him I was sick, that I needed a break, that I wanted to quit, but I couldn't afford to. For weeks, every time I closed my eyes, I saw her, and I kept wondering, if my torch hadn't worked at that moment, what would have happened?